panel in Live Oak, Fort Worth, Texas, with Representative Marisa Marquez. Hey, so we can do like 10% right down. It's just really right. Thank you, sir. All right. Welcome to our July meeting and Texas Marijuana Policy Panel. How many people are excited to be here today? Excellent, as am I. Can we give an extra special hello to all of our awesome panelists today? As you know, we meet on the last Saturday of every month to discuss marijuana policy reform in the state of Texas, what we can do to change the laws in our communities, in our state. And today we have a very, very special little something planned for us. This Texas Marijuana Policy Panel is designed to help us figure out what the heck happened this last session. How many people are curious about what the heck happened? Make some noise. Excellent. We formulated some very good questions, I think, for our panelists here, which we will introduce here in just a moment. But I want to personally thank every one of you for coming out, spending your weekend time, your off time, your downtime, to come and get normal with us. Please give yourself a hand for getting normal with us today. So if you've been to any one of our meetings, you know that I like to host our meetings usually because I just have trouble letting go of the mic sometimes. But guess what? Today is not going to be like that. Today I have an awesome co-host. I'd like to introduce my co-host now to you. She is the chair of the Tarrant County Libertarian Party. Please give it up for Brooke Bailey. And she is going to introduce our panelists and also be asking our questions. So everybody, please let's keep the background noise to a minimum. We're going to have the panel last about an hour exactly. If we do this right, there will be time to say hello to the representative and our awesome panelists at the end. So let's all be very respectful. Let's be very strategic. And let's do this, Texas. Are you with me?
Hi guys, how are you doing today? I'd like to welcome you all to the panel today. I'm very, very excited and honored to be up here with all of these women. So I'd like to introduce all of these ladies to you. Sir, on this end, we have Jack Finkel. She is Deputy Director for the Austin chapter of NORML. Texas also served as the volunteer coordinator and local and legislative director of Texas Union. She's been involved in campus law reform since 2005. She's also served as the Travis County Libertarian Party Executive Committee and has run as a candidate in 2012 and 2010. So, nice. So Jax, you currently live in Boston, correct? And by day you are a real estate professional. By evening, you're on campus.
Additional pressure.
Next to Jax, we have Barbara Humphries. Many of you probably know Barbara already as the DFW NORML patient outreach coordinator. Barbara was diagnosed with stage 3 invasive breast cancer at the age of 31, and I think that's what brought her to the fight here. And in the last year, she has become a very important part of DFW NORML. So if you don't know Barbara, you should. Our very special guest today, we're very honored to present to you Marisa Marquez, who is a representative from El Paso area. She, from her bio is insane, guys. She has a degree in business administration and finance and economics from Notre Dame. She is very committed to the El Paso community and has fought very hard for government transparency and has several state statutes with statewide impact in that area. She also, in 2009, passed legislation that created the first county ethics commission in the state of Texas and has worked very hard in that area as well. And most recently, we welcomed her to the marijuana reform fight in this legislative session when she introduced Bill 3785. Not familiar with all the ins and outs of the bills and the bill numbers, we'll be asking the panelists some questions about that so that we can get you guys educated. So we'll get to that with the panel questions. And last but absolutely certainly not least, we do have Zoe Russell. She is from the Republicans Against Marijuana Prohibition, right? Within there, Zoe is the assistant director, assistant executive director. So she helps mostly with training, connecting people with their representatives, networking, and fundraising for that very important group. She's also been a state delegate to the 2012 and 2014 Texas UOP state conventions and an active member of the Texas Young Republican Federation. Personally, Zoe will be attending tenure in school. So congratulations.
She was supposed to be up here already. Sorry I made it awkward. You're going to do
You may recognize these women, and if not, you were just introduced to them, and you're going to get a chance today to hear from these women about what went good in the 2015 session of the legislature, what we could have done a lot better, and how we can better prepare ourselves for January 10th, 2017, the beginning of the 85th Texas legislature. These women have each played a major role in bringing marijuana to the forefront of Texas politics. People are talking about marijuana, and that's progress. These individuals have also made numerous trips down to the Texas State Capitol, walking the walk and talking to whoever we listened to them, to a few people who decided they really didn't want to. I think we had a couple of doors slammed in our faces. And unless you just walk in, of course, you know another distinguishing characteristic of our panel today, and that's that they are all women. Strong, powerful women. I want to take you back in history a little bit to the time of alcohol prohibition in the 1920s and 1930s. In 1919, the 18th Amendment was ratified to the Constitution, making national prohibition the law of the land. Women were actually a big part of making that happen. The women's temperance movement was instrumental in convincing people that this was for the best of families, for the best of children, for the best of our society, that we ban this substance. Well, they did this in 1919 without even having the right to vote. Women are powerful. In 1920, they won their hard-fought battle for the right to vote in this country, and women were now equal with men at the voting polls. Prohibitionists believe that prohibition would lead to a decrease in drunkenness, a decrease in crime, a decrease in mental illness, and a decrease in poverty. But they were wrong. And women about this time, finding their voices, had already figured out that they were wrong, that it wasn't the law that's the problem. I mean, it wasn't alcohol that was the problem per se, but it was the laws against alcohol. In 1929, an activist by the name of Pauline Zada formed WNPR, which is the Women's Organization for National Prohibition Reform. Well, 4 years later, from campaigning out pamphlets and talking to people and doing whatever they could, going door to door, their numbers had grown to 1.5 million people. Sorry, I got dollars on my head. 1.5 million strong. And their platform was that prohibition was causing the decline in temperate alcohol consumption. In other words, responsible use had gone out the window. Organized crime was rampant because when you have bootlegging and an underground economy, you have organized crime and the violence that goes with it. And then last but not least, they took a libertarian stance. And they said, what the hell is the government doing in our lives anyway? So women were instrumental in both enacting prohibition, and then when they found their voices and started speaking up, they were pivotal in reversing prohibition. Fast forward 82 years to current day, in 1970, prohibition of marijuana became law. 45 years we've been in this battle compared to 13 for alcohol prohibition. And if you go back to when the first state started banning alcohol, we're all the way back to 1906. So we had a long road to hoe. And the arguments against or for the repeal of marijuana prohibition are the same as the ones that they used against alcohol prohibition. You want to stop my husband on the way home from work because he failed to signal before he turned, and you want to use that stop as justification to search his car, and you find a joint in the glove box, it's probably fine, but that's not all right. You want to pick up my kids and their friends, and you want to take them down to the station for questioning because they were sitting on a park bench, a public park bench, and they forgot what time it was, and they were out after curfew. And after all, kids are out after curfew are up to no good, right? Yeah, no, that's definitely not okay. Because if you want to piss off a woman, you mess with somebody she loves. And if you want to experience a wrath like no other, you mess with a woman's kids. Okay, most of these women I was kind of going to introduce, but I will just briefly go over. We have Jack Finkel. people. She is a wife, a mother, a business professional, and an activist. When Joan takes the mic, you can hear the power of her conviction and the passion behind her words. She inspires me. Humphries, our own patient outreach coordinator and breast cancer survivor. The first time I remember actually knowing who her was, she came to a meeting, much like this one, in a bar in Fort Worth, just like this one. And she walked up to the mic and she was wearing either a bandana or a beanie. I think it was a beanie that time. Barbara was sweating profusely from the chemotherapy drugs that were coursing through her system. But she got up there and she took the mic, and in front of a group of virtual strangers, she told her story. And she told it again at the Calhoun Canvas rally, and again and again, all unknowingly in preparation for her star testimony for HB 3785. Now, Barbara has people find their amazing. So, like the Cindy, like Marisa said, if you don't know Barbara, you need to get with her. She inspires me. Zoe here. Zoe is the director with Grant, Republicans Against Marijuana Prohibition. Y'all know that, right? Republicans. Zoe works tirelessly for our cause behind the scenes and out there in the halls of the Capitol. And during the testimony for HB 3785, the committee chairman was asking us to please, it's late, we want to go home and be great. So Zoe agreed though. She gave them facts, she gave them figures, she gave them real reasons why prohibition is a failure in this country. She inspires me. And then, but not least, Marisa Marquez, representing Marisa Marquez, four-term senator from El Paso, Texas. Marisa sponsored, became our hero, our champion, when she sponsored HB 3785. She walked into the lion's den, bill in hand, armed with facts, and said, "Come on, guys, let's do the right thing." And they may not have listened to her, but that did not stop Marisa Marquez from speaking. She inspires me. Women were then and are now crucial to ending prohibition. Each and every one of us are responsible for being the change that we want to see. New York Times bestselling author Marianne Williamson wrote, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not?" Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the panel, the Texas Marijuana Policy Panel. I hope they inspire you like they inspire me.
And I have some questions for you about how things went this session. And would like for you, if you could, to just start with an overview of each marijuana bill that was introduced this session and the progress that we made.
Sure. And also, real quickly, I'd like to give a little bit of perspective of kind of where we come from so people can understand how historic this session was. In 1914, cannabis was first made illegal in El Paso. So it's very fitting that today we have Mrs. Marquez representing us and in the El Paso area. And ever since the late 90s, early 2000s, we've had basically the same two bills submitted to the legislature every session. One was an affirmative defense bill submitted by HCAP repeatedly, and one was a decriminalization bill put in like that. Those bills usually die in committee, but sometimes we're voted out. But those are our options. That's not a session. We had 12 bills this session, and we include the HIP bills. So real quickly, I'm going to go over each of them, some a little bit more in depth than others. The first one was HB 325, and that was by Jean Wu out of Houston, and it basically decriminalized segregation from a Class C, or sorry, from Class B to a Class C misdemeanor. It did have a hearing. Actually, no one testified on it, and it ended up that the author of that bill, Joint Representative Moody, is sponsoring HB 507, which I will get into a little bit more. Then we also had HB 414, which was Representative Carol Duffy's bill. He's also out of Houston. This is the same bill we've been putting in for about a decade, and it would have taken an ounce from a Class C to a Class C misdemeanor. It also had a hearing, but there wasn't much testimony on it because it was paired up with 507, and in the end, that actually ended up also joining Moody in sponsoring the 507 bill. 507 was great. It took an ounce of possession and basically turned it into a traffic ticket. Originally, as written, it was going to be a $100 ticket. There were some amendments made in the committee that changed that to a $250 ticket, and also made allowances for indigent people so that they could perhaps work that off instead of it being a financial hardship for them. It did have a vote on April 8th was the hearing, and on May 4th, it was voted favorably out of committee by 4-2. And for that hearing, there were over 207 Texans that came up to the Capitol to either testify in person or to actually sign up to the Capitol. On top of that, we had email services, both through our coalition, Texas for Responsible Marijuana Policy, and also through NORML.org. And through that, over 15,000 people emailed their representatives and senators in relationship to that bill. Only 17 people spoke against the bill, and it did make our committee, as I said, it went to calendars where unfortunately it did die here by not getting on the agenda in time. It also had a companion bill in the Senate, as well as the medical bill did. What the strategy was there was get it in on both the House and Senate side so that they can meet in the middle and perhaps fast track it a little bit quicker through the session. Because as you guys know, it's every 2 years from the 40 days, there's no special session. And that's not much time for the upwards of 6,000 bills that a lot of these people are seeing. Then we had a full repeal of marijuana prohibition bill. That's 2165, and that was written by Representative David Simpson out of the Long area. It had a hearing, and there were 171 people that came to testify or sign in support of that bill, and only 22 against. It was passed out of committee with a vote of 5-2. And I would like to say that this bill was basically the oldest repeal of marijuana prohibition bill in the country. It struck every statute off of the books and made it where you could grow it like a tomato plant in your yard. And it did make it to the calendar committee, but it was not placed on calendars. Then we have HB 3785, authored by Representative Marquez. This is really a very good bill. It had a good list of conditions. It really drilled down into the nuts and bolts of how dispensaries and the whole plant cannabis program should work. And that was really the key, was that it was whole plant cannabis. As we know, there are many different cannabinoids that people can benefit from this plant. And so this bill did not leave any patient behind. And we thank you for that, for making sure that all the patients could be included. The hearing was on April 28th. It was very moving and very impactful. Arthur Mayer is actually putting out the testimony one by one, so you can view those online. The patients stayed there until the early hours. This this day's hearing started at 8:30 in the morning. They were going to do all of the cannabis bills together. However, they ended up breaking the CBD bill out and hearing that in the morning. So the full plant medical marijuana bill and the affirmative defense bill did not start their hearing until I believe it was like 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. somewhere 5. It was late, you guys. It was very late. And it did make it out of, or I'm sorry, it did not make it out of the public health committee because guess what? Our favorite person, Representative Marisa. We don't like that. No. So that was the story of that bill, and I hope that this next session we will be able to make more of an impact for the patients that Representative Marquez's bill can be recreated and go the distance because a lot of patients, they just don't have the 2 years to wait. So, also the affirmative defense bill by Representative that was HB 837. This is the same incarnation basically that he's been doing for the last decade. However, this time he did add a provision to protect caregivers. Previously, it was a protection for patients with a bona fide condition, and it also protected doctors from losing their license. So he also added to make sure that caregivers could be protected. That also did not make it out of the committee, which is pretty shocking because it is a very limited bill that just gives the affirmative defense. So that is an unfortunate way for that bill to stand as well. Then we had 2 hemp bills. One was HB 557, which was the cultivation of hemp for research purposes. And then we had 1322, which was for industrial production. And both of these were authored by Joe Gaudius from San Antonio. They both had a hearing on March 18th. Only the research bill was voted on, and it passed out of committee 7-0. So very, very good pass. The bill was added to the calendars for 514, but it did not make it onto the agenda on time, so it was not able to be voted on. But it made it to the calendars, and that is a big deal. That is the first, to my knowledge, that is the first cannabis-related bill that has been on the calendars committee, with the exception of the CBD bill. So that was really great movement there. So as you guys probably are aware of, Texas is now a medical cannabis state.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, we are a medical cannabis state, and no one has told us that we have not made some progress this session. We've gone from 2 bills to actually having a bill being voted on and enacted. So I want to tell you guys a little bit about this bill. So I have the sister bills, one on the Senate side and one on the House side. The House bill was voted out of the committee by 8-1, and it was put on the calendars, but it was not put on in time for a vote, so it didn't make it onto the agenda, same as with the Hemp bill. However, on the Senate side, 339, aka the Texas Compassionate Use Act, did make it through the full process, and they came back over to the House of Representatives and had a vote on the floor. So on the Senate side, when it was in committee, it passed out of committee 8-1. And when it was voted on the Senate floor, it passed 26-5. Then it came over to the House, and when it was voted on in the House, it passed 108-38. So that was a very good vote that now we can take and look at who voted how on this bill for the future. And then on June 1st, Governor Greg Abbott actually called a signing meeting to have this law signed into effect, which is a big deal. He does not do that for every bill. So the fact that it took some center stage as related to cannabis bill is very good. There are a few things to know about the bill. So it's low THC, so that means that it has to be less than 0.5% THC inside of it. And currently, DPS has put out its first set of rules. It was open for public comment until the 23rd of this month. The public comment has closed. And then they have to make sure that the rules are enacted and ready to go by December 1st, I believe it is, of this year. I think the rules have to be in December, but then in September 1st of 2017 is when they have to have the program fully installed. And this bill is the most, in my opinion, limited cannabis bill in the country. It is CBD only, and it is only for people with epilepsy. you have to go to 2 epileptologists or neurologists that believe that you should have the CBD oil, and that's only after trying 2 FDA-approved treatments without any benefit from it. So this is the law that we have now. The rules that they're going to enact are either going to be a building block for whole plant, or it's going to be a blocker. And our goal is to make sure that these rules enable us to build on them further, so that in the future we can make sure that we destigmatize THC and make sure that people are able to access it. So that sums up our bevy of duties, our laws that we have. And I think when you put it in perspective, you know, the same two bills for a decade, you know, we're really doing well, you guys. We're doing well.
Just a few more questions for you, Jax, and if you could limit to answering. You could be reversed for 2 minutes. So with the new CBD law that you explained, what advice would you give to parents that are curious about this and how they can possibly help their children or their patients?
Well, it's strictly for people with epilepsy. So that's the first thing that you have to evaluate. Does your child or you have epilepsy? Have you tried 2 FDA-approved treatments? And if that's the case, then you need to contact 2 epileptologists or neurologists to evaluate you. There is a concern about the law, and we will see how this plays out, but I'll make this real brief. There was a lawsuit, and based on the lawsuit, it's called a content rule. You need to make sure that the bill says recommends instead of prescribes, because it's a Schedule I drug, so technically it has a medical effect. And so people are concerned that because the CBD only bill says that the doctor can prescribe cannabis, they're concerned that doctors will not actually prescribe it because of the federal issue there. So that is one concern we have. So what we need to kind of find doctors that are going to be willing to do this. And so I encourage people to get involved in patient outreach, not only with Barbara, but there's a great group called PACT, Patient Alliance for Cannabis Therapeutics, and they're trying to track and find out who will be willing to prescribe the CBD oil. Thank you.
Also, I know there's some legal CBD products out on the market right now. What can you tell us about those products?
People in Texas are taking them before this law is enacted. I can tell you that. You know, there are different arguments as to the efficacy of these CBD products. Some people say that they're coming from hemp, some people say that they're coming from cannabis, and that can make a difference based on what plant that they come from. So definitely be aware of that. But you know, one of the arguments was that the CBD bill was mute because people are already taking CBD here because it does not contain THC. So that was one discussion that people were having. So people are taking it. Some people are having effect. Some people are not. I think it's really important to keep in mind when you're talking about intractable epilepsy. People who use CBD only about 20% of those intractable epilepsy patients find benefit from CBD only. Most of them need some sort of THC or THCA included to give it that synergistic effect for them. And in fact, some people on CBD only actually have a negative effect from it. So it's really important that we let the doctors decide what patients should be taking and not let our legislators decide. And that was one great thing about Representative Marquez's bill, is that it gave the whole plant option to the patients so that the doctors and the patients could really make that decision together. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's me. So let's move on to Ms. Marquez. And the first thing that I would like to know is, why did you file House Bill 3785? Can you tell us that story, what led you to file that bill?
Well, it came from organizations like yourself. I'm Marisa Marquez, and I know I got the promotion out there as a senator, but I'm actually not a senator, I'm a representative. I don't want my senator to get off the side. So, thank you so much for having me here. I think I've traveled the furthest, maybe. Is there anybody out there? Happy to be here today. so I think that the information that Jack gave was very important, but I can actually tell you what happened in those committees, and I can tell you actually what happened on those House floors when we had these discussions. Whenever you get a hearing that late in April, it usually means it's the hearing of dead bills. That means they're planning for them to die in calendars. They're doing it because they've had some type of pressure from their communities, or that there's some type of concern, or they want to kind of vet the issue, but they don't necessarily want to see it pass. So that I think that's very important for the public to know what goes on when we're having our discussions as legislators. So if they're giving you a hearing that night, they generally don't want it to pass. The legislation came from organizations like GRAP, and then of course NORML, that worked together to come up with something that was comprehensive, that addressed all the issues of law enforcement, regulation, the HHSC, the doctor-patient relationship, and so all of those pieces were in this particular bill. I sit on appropriations. I'm the only Hispanic female in the state of Texas to sit on appropriations, and the only on past this is my second term on appropriations, and in those appropriations discussions, we deal with a lot of money, and we invest a lot of money into our higher education, and we also invest a lot of money into our research dollars. Our medical research, cancer research, you heard all about the secret, the Lance Armstrong coming on the House floor, everybody got starstruck. They put a ton of money into secret, which is the cancer research element of HHSC, and then there was a lot of misinformation, there was a lot of misappropriation of funds, and so constantly you all, as taxpayers, are putting money into these research facilities, but you're not looking at other alternative methods, which is cannabis, which is marijuana, and all of the healing properties that it has. So we continue to put millions and millions of dollars into these medical research facilities and these institutions, but yet we're not looking at things that actually work. It's like we're always making money off of just researching and just talking about it, but not actually looking for a solution. Which many people say that's what politicians do anyway, right? We create wars, so we can just keep a war going and not really have an end in sight. So with that, that's why I decided to. I think I was probably one of the last people they asked to file it, but I'm the one that had the balls to do it.
So what are your personal feelings about the hearings, especially the way that the hearing was 3785?
I thought that the chair woman could have handled the situation a little bit better. I think that she could have been more considerate to the people that were coming so far to talk about things that are very personal. For you to get up in front of legislators and people that you don't know to talk about your personal battle with illnesses and cancer and other debilitating illnesses, I think it's very important for us as legislators to stop talking and to start listening. And I don't think that many of you are treated with respect. I do believe that there are some good legislators. I did see a few reps get up from the committee that were overwhelmed by testimony that got up to go to the back. Those are things you guys don't see, but we do. They got up and actually cried because of some of the testimony and felt that we were doing such a disservice and almost felt guilty that we were just now getting into the conversations about medical marijuana. So is it effective? Yes. Are they scared in their districts? Yes. Because there are consequences. I know we were talking about Representative Crowell recently. If there should be consequences for not allowing people to talk and treating them with disrespect and not allowing the bill to come up for a vote, but there should also be positive consequences for those reps that do stand with you, that we don't forget them. When election day, what we used to say, they did the right thing, thanks a lot, and then we take off. And then we're never there to block, we're never there to say, hey, we want to wear your sign. I mean, your pin, your t-shirt, we want to help you win re-election because you took a bold stance for our issue. We forget that a lot. And so those are things that I can tell you as an elected official. I'm now in my fourth term. I'm not ready for the election. But I can tell you the insights, and that's a big part of it. People are fearful. They believe in your story. They believe that reform is needed in the state of Texas. They believe that the state can save a ton of money They believe that people will have a better quality of life, but they are afraid. They're afraid when they go back to election time in their districts that the overwhelming majority will be against them and that they won't have supporters like you all out there defending them.
What's the number one thing that someone sitting in this room today could do so that their representatives know that they're going to stand with them on this issue?
I think consistency. You have to be there not just when it's convenient for you, not just when your issue's on the table. Be supportive at their events. Be supportive on other issues that they have within the district. Have close communication. You all don't realize how much our staffs mean to us and how much they do out there. Build a relationship with that staff member. Let them know that you're going to be there. That's what legislators want to see. And I will tell you this: if I challenge you all to get out there and really get to know somebody in that office, you will see a change in your legislator. You will see a change, and you will see that they can come back and they can be saving their districts, and you will see reform passed in the next 5 to 10 years.
Do you have any advice for what representatives we should target or what strategies we should use for next session?
I think you all are well on your way. I think organizations like RAM, I'm a Democrat, by the way. No, it's a very diverse issue and we have a lot of support. What I would say is sometimes we get overzealous. I do too. I mean, I have to lobby my other reps on the House floor for votes on my legislation. And sometimes I think, it's too much or I've said too much. I think sometimes we have to come up with the right strategy. We have to remember who we're dealing with. We have to look at their backgrounds, take a couple of seconds to know something about them. Don't just come in and say, if you don't vote for this, I'm going to have your ass in this district. I mean, it's not, I know it seems like it's effective because you're showing your passion, but it's not always that way. Sometimes you can hurt your own cause by the conversations that you have with legislators. What I would say is you all have a great opportunity right now. You have people on the ballot. You have people that need you now, that are going to be paying attention to you now because you're voters. And you are important to them. And so if you don't seize this opportunity, you will find yourself in the same position you did last session, which is last minute finding somebody to file it, last minute finding people to come in, last minute trying to push it through a process when you have 4 days to get it onto the House floor. You will find yourself in that position if you don't take this opportunity right now when you have it in the palm of your hands.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen. So you said that you were not running for office, and I saw that on Facebook like a week ago, and I was really excited about that. But, so what are your plans after office?
I think 8 years, I decided not to run, I think 8 years is enough. I think you need to see your politicians. You need new blood. You do need new blood, so any candidates out there? You do need new ideas, new representation. I will be involved. I do love it. I did, a lot for my community in 8 years. I feel like I've done everything that I possibly could. I will be joining a firm. The name of the group is Forward Group. It is advocacy. They deal with PACs, elections, local elections, bond elections, campaign consulting. There are about 6 different tiers that they do, and so I'll still be able to be involved. Like just recently, we're working on a PAC, creating a PAC for doctors, so they can understand how to lobby legislators for particular items. We also do bond elections locally, so I will stay involved, but I won't have to travel so much, and I can be there close to my family. I'm really wet. I just got married in November.
So next we got and kind of keying off some of the things that we were talking about with legislators and how to interact with legislators. Can you kind of talk a little bit about maybe some advice about how to approach your legislator?
I would say right now, so the Senate is elected, the state Senate is elected every 4 years, and the state House is elected every 2. So your state rep is going to be running for office, and be aware that they run in the primary and then the general. So the primary campaign in a lot of districts is the most important campaign. A lot of our districts are pretty much set red or blue, and so the primary is where the actual competition happens. So what I would do if I were y'all is figure out who your representatives are, and then some other. You don't have to just stick to only your house rep. You can figure out who else is in the area, the DFW area that you want to support. And you can come and talk to me, and I can give you names of people that I think would be great to form relationships with. And just go to their get out the vote events. They have a ton of these. Get on, go sign up for your county Republican Party email, and same with the Democratic Party. And they'll send out, they should send out, every other week or every week an email of all the events that are going on in the district. And that's where you can go and just one-on-one walk up and be like, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm a constituent here, and I really like what you talked about, blah, blah, this, that, the other. One issue that's really important to me, believe it or not, is marijuana policy, and I just wanted to get your point of view on that. And if you have a personal story, just be like, me personally, I have experience with somebody who has cancer, and so that's kind of how I came on the issue. What do you think about that? And the other good thing is kind of pin it down where, how do you feel about, not arresting people for 0 to 1 ounce? What do you think about instead of arresting people for 0 to 1 ounce marijuana, we give them a ticket instead? So that it's really clear, what it is that you're talking about, because if you're just talking about marijuana, then they're going to be like, oh, I don't know what Colorado's doing. I don't know. So be specific. Be specific about the bills that we're working on. Yeah, for medical, you can say, I think that, right now we use a lot of really, I know a patient, or I am a patient, and currently I use opioids for my pain, and they're highly addictive, and don't you think that people who are in serious pain should be able to access this to their doctor? I think so. And so it's, pretty specific questions are better. And then don't expect to win them over in one conversation. It's all relationship building. And then also staffers are important. And a lot of times the campaign staffers go right into being their office staffers and vice versa. So staff is really important.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about the different roles of the staffers and how kind of the inner workings of their work?
Yeah, and basically, it's like the staff kind of depends on how much money each office has to hire staff. And if I'm thinking this right, but a lot of times they'll have somebody at the very front desk or the person that picks up the phone, and that's not necessarily the person that you want to talk to. That might be somebody who handles constituent calls, takes a message, and then logs it in the system or maybe delivers it to the rep. But if you call in, let's say you're calling on a medical marijuana issue, and a lot of times I just say, hi, I'm calling on a medical, health issue. Can you transfer to or give me the name of the best staffer that advises on health policy? And I go from there. And so that could be like a legislative director. Those are important guys. Then you've got like your legislative analyst is probably below that. And then you've got your chief of staff, who's obviously a very important person to get a relationship with. You could have the other people in the typical yeah. So I would just say, don't necessarily get stuck with the person answering the phone. If there's like a higher level body that's advising on that policy issue, you could feel free to call them and then say oh, well, do you have time for me to come and meet with you or with the rep? And I would start trying to meet with the rep right now when they're not in office instead of in office.
Because a lot of them are probably in their home district.
Correct. Yeah. So there's something you call the district directors.
So if you do call, get an appointment with your legislature, how do you make the first impression on them, and also kind of on the other side of the table, what's going through their heads that we need to be aware of?
Well, marijuana, they're already going to just be like, oh, marijuana, why do I want to talk about marijuana? It's a lose-lose for me. This is mainly Republicans. We're not going to Democrats that want to this, but Republicans might just be automatically close it off. So I'm not even sure. I kind of just don't let them be. I don't know. I just kind of keep chatting them up in a very cordial way, or like know what's important to them so that you can relate to them on some kind of way.
Do you have research about what committees there
Yeah,
are?
like if you're gonna go into a meeting with a rep, typically how I start out is I say, like, this is who I am. This is just a little bit about myself, a little bit about what I want to do a grant. This is what we care about. You know, we support. You know, these are the bills we're working on. And let me just talk through a few of the finer points of these specific bills and and then think of questions that you want to ask them. Don't just walk out of there without asking them anything. So kind of write down what you want to know from them and kind of pointed questions from them. So just, and then at an appointment. And then don't take too much of their time. If they give you an appointment, take like a half hour.
Good advice. This is like the Zoe or personal advice column, advice for activists here. Because one of the other questions is
I just want to say something as a legislator. When we agree with you, get up. Don't oversell it. Don't, you already have them saying yes. I had about 8 people, and every nurse wanted to talk about the pros, and I said, I'm with you, I'm going to file the bill. But you have to understand that, no, you have to understand. I'm with you. I'm going to file the bill. I can file the bill if you all get out. Yes, absolutely. You know what I mean? We will build that relationship, and I will call you, and I will ask you to be a witness. Do you know what I mean? And that will be your opportunity to convince those that are not convinced. So if they're with you already, move on and you tell them, who can I work on? And then, you go from there.
great, thank you. That's great advice.
Some of the stuff, I feel a lot of people in DFW NORML are pretty darn active, but some of the stuff that can be confusing to know a little bit about the personality of these legislators. So I am open to people who want to email me or call me and ask me, like, hey, what about, Kyle Finkel? How do you vote on this? Or, what do you know about him? Who do we know in this district? Maybe I can find a good rep person that can accompany you to a meeting so that you don't have to leave the meeting or something like that. So it can be intimidating, but it gets easier over time. But that's what all of these groups are here for, is to help you cross that bridge.
Yeah, absolutely. If any of you out there are interested in talking to your representative and don't want to do it by yourself, please ask. Anybody you see on this stage, anybody in NORML, anybody around, people are here to help you.
And this is my point. I made up a little write-up of a little legislative write-up of what happened in session. On the top, I have the Republican yay and nay votes on the bill, SB 339, the oil bill. So that kind of shows you some of our allies there and some of our antagonists. And then after when David Simpson did the PTSD event, we did have some Republican yay votes. So those are probably our strongest Republican people. And I'm on the sheet. The sheet is on that table over there. I have 90 copies or so over there, so I hope I have enough. But if I don't, I'll put business cards over there. And we also have grant events coming up on your sheet.
So we can share some of that information on the DFW social media for you as well. And that segues nicely into the next question, which is around how to present yourself effectively on social media. I know a lot of us may or may not be able to track the also once session kicks off again, and a lot of us will use social media to talk about these things. So how should we effectively do that?
Yeah, I would let Marquez say too what offices look at, but I think that offices look at Facebook pages. I think that offices look when you tag a representative and say something neat about them. I don't allow that stuff on my page. I don't allow my page to be tagged and insult the representatives. They work very hard, and I know that we can be mad at them, and sometimes we be corrupt, and sometimes we, politics. Sometimes we should have politics and make government smaller, but they work really hard, and they have a lot of other issues on their minds. And I personally just would not put anything. I just try not to be negative. Even on Sheriff and Crown Holder, I don't see any benefits for me to be negative on You let me handle it, Myra. We as a legislature have a unspoken rule. You know, we can hold each other's bills, we can kill each other's bills. You let us handle that. But, you know, as far as social media, yes, be positive. You know, nobody wants to hear where's your head at, what are you thinking, where have you been? You know, we're people too, and we have tempers, some of us, and you don't want that to be your entrance, because we do remember. So when you come in and you meet with us, and our staff somebody's looking at this stuff all the time, let me tell you. Not that they're not working, that's work, you know, but they're looking at it constantly, and then when you walk in, they recognize you. Oh, you're Kathleen Smith. Yeah, we saw your check. And then they'll immediately come in and tell the chief of staff and then this is who they are, this is what they were writing, you know what I mean? And then immediately your impression's already been made before you even walk in.
So social media can be the first impression.
It can. Yeah, absolutely. So be very, very careful what you put out there. You never want to sound overzealous, that you're going to take up their time. You want to sound like you know what you're talking about. You're going to be, and then know something about us. Hey, we're human. You know, we're just like people. We like to pull beer. We like to go to Costco. I mean, tell me my hair looks nice or something. Don't just come in hi, I'm talking about my thinking. No, I like to talk to you about marijuana, and then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm having a great day. Thank you. You know, calm down, people. It's we're regular people. Talk to us about things that are important to you. And then, that's how part of that relationship building starts. And then we appreciate you. We're like, oh, that way, legislators, when they see you in the pit, they're not scared you're going to attack them. You come in and, oh my God, that's a very nice white jacket that you're wearing, like, okay. But if you have that kind of soft approach, then when I'm walking out in the pit and I see the pit, the pit's like right outside of the chambers. So, nobody can go into the chambers except for the members. But you can wait outside in case somebody leaves to their office or goes somewhere else. You can be there and you can wave them down. Well, it's a lot softer when I see someone and say, hey, how are you? How's it going? Have you talked to anybody? I know she's not going to give me a spiel every single time. You know what I mean? It's a softer approach. I understand she's going to answer my question. She's going to know what she's talking about. And I'll be able to say, hey, we'll come over here. So-and-so's over here. Let's catch them before they go back into the floor. Do you know what I mean? So calm down. We're good people for the most part, but we want to help, but and then you can get a little aggressive as it steps up and say, I need an answer, I want to know where you are. Because if you're a no, that's okay, but I need to move on to somebody else.
So you have to build that relationship.
And trust.
Last question. Okay. So campaign season is going to be here before we know it. What should we be doing during campaign season to help further the call?
It's really easy. It doesn't take a lot of know-how or anything. You just call the campaigns that are close to you. And like I said, I think help people get connected to the campaigns that I think are voting or important to make an impression on it. And just be a body that will block walks and voting. And if you don't want to block walk in this Texas heat, just go in and there's local offices for the Democratic Party or Republican Party go in and voting. I can't tell you, if we could have 3 dedicated kind of pro-marijuana campaign volunteers on every campaign, forming those relationships, it's a really big difference because people are blinking and everyone's running at once, and everyone's trying to get volunteers, so that's my favorite strategy. Thank you.
So last but not least, we do have fun.
I'm awesome. How are you?
So, Barbara, as a cancer patient, do you want to talk about your experiences a little bit and how you feel the Texas medical system is adequately or especially in comparison to the way that I say Colorado would approach.
All right, I'll start with my experience. When I was 31 years old on my birthday, I was diagnosed with stage 3 invasive breast cancer. And I had a 1.5-year-old and a 4.5-year-old at the time, and I was completely terrified because I thought I was going to die. Well, I went through 4 months initially of chemotherapy, and I thought it was over, but when I had my double mastectomy surgery, they found out that it had spread in multiple spots into my blood vessels. So I redid chemotherapy a second time. 4 more months of that, so 8 months total chemotherapy. And after that, I went through 33 rounds of radiation. And I just finished that about 3 weeks ago. And so right now, as it stands, I am cancer-free. So I'll touch a bit on my experiences and how it would differ from Colorado. If I was a patient in Colorado, I would be able to legally access medical cannabis. But because I live in Texas, anything that I choose to do with marijuana in particular would be considered illegal. So it makes it a little tricky because if I get found out, I could be arrested and put in jail for trying to make myself feel better, which isn't acceptable in my opinion.
Hell no.
No. So I used it. I'll openly say it. I used it illegally the whole entire time I was going through cancer treatment, and it helped me. It helped me eat. I said this before, when I was sitting, I would eat weird stuff like chocolate and spicy food, and everyone would look at me strange and be like, "How is she doing that?" Because I slept right before I got there. To be honest with you, because it made me feel better. I was prescribed so many different prescription pills. It's unreal. I recently made a list. If some of your friends would be on Facebook, some of you aren't, but if you aren't, feel free to add me. But I made a list of all of the prescriptions I was prescribed, and it's unreal. In total, currently getting the amount of prescriptions, I would say upwards of 50 to 60 different ones that they kept giving me. And nausea pills and opiates, and they gave me hydrocodones and fentanyl patches. Like, what? No. So I didn't take them because I didn't want to get addicted to that kind of thing, and I felt like I was doing fine with the cannabis. So that's the difference between Texas and Colorado, because in Colorado I wouldn't be considered a criminal.
So, 50 or 60 different prescriptions.
Yeah, I'm actually doing 7 different chemo drugs.
How much have you spent?
The total cost of my cancer treatment in Texas was $1.4 million. And then that is from start to finish and not including my reconstruction that I will have this year. And if I was in Colorado and I had a medical cannabis card, I would not be spending $1.4 million. So you know what that means for me and my family is I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. I'm in my early 30s. I got 2 kids to take care of, and it is forcing me in the courthouse.
Because they made a weed illegal.
Exactly.
I don't know about the rest of you all, but this makes me very angry. You may not be able to tell it, but it really just makes me mad.
Every single time I sat in the chemo chair, it was $70,000. $70,000 once a week for almost 9 months. And that doesn't include the surgery costs. I've had, like I said, I had a double mastectomy, and I also had another surgery to have a cord implanted in my chest. And then the radiation costs and all the prescriptions, $1.4 million. further, I know there are other patients out there today. And some, I know that some of them that may be here, maybe watching on YouTube or see this later, are still in the campus closet. What advice would you have for patients that are in the campus closet?
My advice is that you need to stand up and make your voice heard. Because the longer you stay in the closet, the longer Prohibition will succeed. And they're winning. So we need to stand up and say, look, this is not okay. This is not okay, and this is how I feel. And eventually they will hear us. They will have no choice but to hear everybody roar. You see what I'm saying?
If you are concerned about the confidentiality, like you're identifying information, you can go to your representative and say, I'm going to talk to you about something that's very personal, confidential to me. Do you mind keeping, confidential? And a lot of times they will absolutely do that, because I don't think that any of these reps are writing press releases about the people that visited them about marijuana. So that's what I tell doctors. Sometimes it's hard for me to twist the arms of doctors to get them to do this because of their profession. And I'm like, nobody's going to be, calling the media about you coming about marijuana. So you're really kind of go as far as Harvard is a hero, but you can have your own level.
It's so weird. So I'm going to say that on the national news. I said, if anybody who wants to talk to me about it, they're able to know it, because I feel like it's my life. And, other people in my situation who need to hear this, who need to feel better.
So we've been talking a lot about Colorado, and you recently made a trip up there. So can you tell us a little bit about what you experienced while you were up there, kind of the difference that being roommates, and also the advice you have for somebody thinking about making a patient trip to Colorado?
Okay. So yes, I recently went to Colorado, and the trip in all was pretty awesome, actually. I got there and I met with this really great older man who was like, hey, I'm Forever. Why don't you come whenever? Here, look at my greenhouse. I was in awe. I walked in and I was like, are you kidding me? This is legal right now? It was amazing. Everybody there is just totally supportive, and it's different than here because I talk to a lot of people who aren't for it, and I talk to a lot of people who aren't for it. But there it's like a whole other world. And as far as what happened on the way back, I had an accident. I was riding with someone else who I went to Colorado with in a vehicle. And we got pulled over on the way back, and the vehicle was searched, and they found cannabis products in the lockbox under the driver's seat of the car. Mind you, it was not my truck. I did not have the keys. It was not in the lockbox, and I was in the back seat of the car. And I am now facing charges because of that. So what I would say, my advice is, if you do go to Colorado, please, whatever you do not knowingly bring anything back. And if you were to travel with anyone else, do not come over that state line with marijuana, because it's not worth it. You can get here surprisingly, be a lot more discreet about it, but they're looking for people. So I wouldn't make it a habit of going there for products.
Thank you for sharing your personal experience. I have one final question for you. So if something like whole plant were passed here in Texas, how would that make a difference for patients, cancer patients, epilepsy patients, other patients? What difference in the quality of life can that make for a patient if that would be legal here?
Well, for one, look at me. Do I look sick right now? Because I've been dealing with this since May of 2014. And the difference it has made in my life has been tremendous. I have been able to take care of my children. I've been able to be active. I've been able to go to the Capitol. I have done things. I've carried on with my life. I'm not laying in bed. I'm not wasted away. I gained 25 pounds. I ate whatever I wanted. I never threw up. No,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So this concludes our new discussion for today. Thank you, ladies, so much. I appreciate you.
Okay, I'm gonna slow it one more time. So I'm modeling today this red shirt that we have. So if y'all love the shirt, it's on our website, go to contribute link and see it's and so basically it goes to Schulte's, which is a Houston shop, and the guy will put a ramp logo on the back for free and a donate ramp portion of the cost.
All right, do we have a sound ready back there? Is that ready? Okay, two final things before we wrap this up. First off, when we first introduced this panel, there was talk of Dean Fortel and Alexis Fortel coming. And they had to, at the last minute, cancel for a reason I'm not going to disclose. They're going to talk about it here pretty soon. But they sent us an MP3 that they wanted to play at this event from Alexis, a message for DFW NORML. You guys want to hear it? Okay, please.
Hello, DFW NORML. It has been a long time since I got to talk to you, and I'm so happy to be here today. I want you all to know that I'm 115 in CJ for today. And I will be going up with them to Colorado Springs Fast Talk Game. I would love to see some of my Texas family there. I think about Texas and all my friends and family every day. I miss you, but because of the CBD only film I can't be home. I have a new weekly podcast coming after the American Medical Refugees starting in late August. Please watch FemalLexons.org for details, as it is going to be really fun, and finally, we patients will have a voice. I would love to have every one of you as a guest because DFW NORML was the first large group I ever spoke to, and I will never forget. Before I go, I want to say thank you to Representative Marquez. My dad told me you were not going to be in government next year, and that makes me really sad. I know you tried to help us all patients this year, and I just wanted to say thank you. Finally, I wanted to say to my DFW NORML family, the next time you march in Dallas, there will be a team of Alexis booth. But if you are there, you see a little baby girl that you remember, and swear to yourself, hey, that's Alexis. Well, maybe it is. I'm only 2 hours play right away, so anything's possible. Our fight's not over. It has just started. That will not happen. Thank you.
Wow, powerful stuff from our little friend Alexis Fortel. How many people, by a show of hands, know somebody who's been touched by cancer? Okay. Recently, my grandmother-in-law passed away from cancer, and I was fortunate enough to be able to administer some vegetable wisdom tincture to her in her final days. For a moment, I would like to take a quick moment to acknowledge every single person who has needlessly passed away while Texas waits to get its act together regarding medical marijuana. Will you please join me in this moment of silence? And from now on, we'll never be silent again, will we? And finally, last little order of business. It was a huge, huge deal for Representative Marisa Marquez to say yes to our invitation. Please give her a hand. And all the way from finally, for the application to the second, I would like to have our DFW room to award Representative Marisa Marquez to respond back. For everyone, Representative Marisa Marquez, who has great support for the campus in Texas. Awarded in July 25th, 2015 by DFW NORML.
Thank you. Watching the first formal meeting I've ever made, even El Paso, they're pissed off right now. But I told them I'm just on loan for your collection. So I will continue fighting with you all. I know how this process works. I fought against this machine, but it can be done. And I will still be in my 30s when I see this finally legalized in this state.
This concludes our meeting. As you may know, we like to do a raffle afterwards. We're going to probably be doing that upstairs for obvious reasons. I want to thank every single person for being here, joining us today, being responsible cannabis consumers and advocates. Together, we are truly changing policy and minds in the state of Texas. And I thank you for joining us in this battle. Please remember that our next meeting is the final Saturday of August. It is at Vagabond in Dallas, and that awesome patio with all the visitors and everything. So I hope to see you all there. Please take a moment to say, only a moment, to say hello to Representative Finkel for coming. And again, thank you all for being here and being a part of this. Open my friends. Yeah, Jack. Come to the stage, please. Hey, be careful with our holding the black dip. Just come on up here, brother. Hey, one by one. Right here. Right on. Yeah, we're just gonna go over. Say hi to the live stream. This is Sandy, one of our volunteers. This is what you're missing. Oh.
the end of the meeting. We're signing off. Goodbye.